Please, Auntie, they're burning up. Just one more spoonful. I'll do anything. I'll scrub the floors twice. I'll wash every dish. Please. The milk splashed across the linoleum floor. Denise Walker stood over her 8-year-old niece, her hand still gripping the now empty bottle. You want to steal from me, Maya. You want to take food out of my mouth, then get out. Get out and take those screaming brats with you. Before we continue, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel and follow Maya's story until the very end. Drop a comment and tell me which city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Now let me take you back to where it all began. Maya Johnson had learned to move quietly. 2 years in the Walker house had taught her that silence meant survival. But tonight, silence wasn't enough. Isaiah had started crying at 11. By midnight, his small body was radiating heat like a furnace. Elijah joined him an hour later, his breathing turning shallow and ragged. Maya had done everything she knew how to do. Cool cloths on their foreheads, gentle rocking, soft humming of the lullabies her mother used to sing. Nothing worked. At 3 in the morning, Maya made a decision that would change everything. She crept down the hallway toward the kitchen, her bare feet silent on the cold floor. The house was dark except for the blue glow of the television in the living room, where Uncle Terrence had fallen asleep in his recliner, an empty beer bottle still clutched in his hand. The kitchen smelled like the fried chicken Aunt Denise had made for dinner. Maya's stomach cramped at the memory. She hadn't been allowed to eat any of it. Her dinner had been a slice of stale bread and a glass of water, same as every night. The formula was kept in the highest cabinet behind the good dishes that Aunt Denise never used but refused to throw away. Maya had to climb onto the counter to reach it, her heart pounding so loud she was sure it would wake the whole house. Her fingers closed around the canister. She pulled it down carefully, holding her breath. 1 scoop. That was the rule. 1 scoop of formula split between 2 babies mixed with extra water to make it stretch. It was never enough. Isaiah and Elijah were always hungry, always crying, always reaching for more. Tonight, Maya measured out 1 scoop. Then she looked at the canister, looked at the closed kitchen door, thought about Isaiah's burning forehead and Elijah's labored breathing. She took another scoop. The spoon was halfway to the bottle when the kitchen light snapped on. Aunt Denise stood in the doorway. Her hair was wrapped in a silk bonnet, her face bare of the makeup she wore during the day. Without it, she looked older, meaner. Her eyes fixed on the spoon in Maya's hand like a hawk spotting a mouse. What do you think you're doing? Maya's hand started shaking. The formula powder scattered across the counter like snow. Auntie, they're sick. They have fevers. I just thought if I could get them to eat more, maybe the fevers would break and they could sleep, and I wouldn't have to bother you anymore. And please, please, I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't have, but they're so hot, and I'm scared, and I don't know what else to do. The words tumbled out in a desperate rush. Maya knew it was useless even as she spoke. Aunt Denise's face had already hardened into the expression Maya knew too well, the expression that came before pain. You're scared. Denise moved into the kitchen, her slippers scuffing against the floor. You want to know what I'm scared of? I'm scared of the electricity bill. I'm scared of the grocery bill. I'm scared of raising 3 kids that aren't mine on a salary that barely covers rent. But do I steal? Do I take what isn't mine? I wasn't stealing. Maya's voice cracked. They're babies. They need to eat. They need to learn to make do with what they're given, just like you need to learn. Denise snatched the formula canister from the counter. For a moment, Maya thought she was going to put it back in the cabinet. Instead, Denise walked to the sink, turned on the faucet, and upended the entire canister into the drain. Maya watched the white powder swirl down into darkness. No, the word came out as a whisper. No, please, that was all we had. Please. Should have thought about that before you decided to steal. I wasn't stealing. Maya's voice rose despite herself. They're my brothers. Mama would have wanted them to eat. Mama would have. Don't you dare. Denise spun around, her hand connecting with Maya's cheek so fast the girl didn't even see it coming. Don't you dare talk about your mother in my house. Your mother made her choices. She chose that man over her family. She chose to have babies she couldn't afford. She chose to drive on that road on that night. Everything that happened to her, she brought on herself. Maya pressed her hand to her burning cheek. Tears streamed down her face, but she didn't make a sound. She had learned long ago that crying only made things worse. From the bedroom down the hall, Isaiah's wails grew louder. Elijah's thin cry joined in creating a chorus of misery that seemed to fill the entire house. Terrence's voice bellowed from the living room. Denise! Shut those damn kids up! I got work in the morning! Denise grabbed Maya by the arm, her fingers digging in hard enough to leave bruises. You want to feed them so bad, you want to play mama fine. Then you can take your little family and get out of my house. What Maya's blood ran cold. Auntie, no, please, it's the middle of the night. They're sick. I can't. You can and you will. Denise dragged Maya down the hallway toward the small room where the 3 children slept. I've had enough. 2 years of cleaning up after you. 2 years of listening to those babies scream. 2 years of spending my hard-earned money on formula and diapers and medicine. And what do I get? A thief? A liar? An ungrateful little brat who thinks she knows better than the adults who took her in. She threw open the bedroom door. Isaiah was standing in his crib, his face red and wet with tears. Elijah lay on his back, too weak to stand, his chest heaving with every breath. Get them, Denise ordered. Get them and get out. Maya stood frozen. This couldn't be happening. Even Aunt Denise, as cruel as she was, wouldn't throw 3 children out in the middle of the night. Would she? I said get them. Maya moved on autopilot. She lifted Isaiah from the crib, feeling the heat of his fever against her chest. She grabbed the makeshift carrier she had fashioned from an old bedsheet and strapped Elijah to her front. The baby was so light. Too light. 6 months old, and he weighed barely more than a newborn. In the doorway, Terrence appeared. He took in the scene with bleary, bloodshot eyes. What's going on? I caught her stealing formula, Denise spat. This is the last straw, Terrence. I want them out. Terrence scratched his belly, considering. He looked at Maya holding the 2 screaming infants, looked at his wife's furious face, shrugged. Fine by me? Never wanted them here in the first place. Uncle Terrence? Maya's voice shook. Please, I'll do better. I'll be quieter. I'll make sure they don't cry. Just please don't make us leave. It's dark outside. Isaiah has a fever. Elijah can barely breathe. Please. Terrence walked past her like she hadn't spoken. He opened the front door, letting in a rush of cool night air. Out, he said, and don't come back. Maya looked at Denise, looked at Terrence, looked at the open door leading into darkness. She had no choice. She walked out. The door slammed behind her. The deadbolt clicked into place. The porch light went off, plunging her into shadow. Maya stood on the front steps of the house that had been her prison for 2 years, holding her baby brothers surrounded by nothing but night. Isaiah's cries had faded to whimpers. He was exhausted, his small body burning with fever, but too tired to fight anymore. Elijah had gone completely silent, his eyes half closed, his breathing shallow. Okay. Maya's voice was barely a whisper. Okay. We're okay. We just need to find somewhere safe, somewhere warm, someone who will help. She started walking. The streets of Compton at 4 a.m. were quiet but not empty. Maya passed a group of young men on a corner who watched her with curious eyes, but didn't approach. She passed a woman pushing a shopping cart full of bottles and cans who muttered to herself and didn't seem to see Maya at all. She passed houses with bars on the windows and cars parked on lawns and dogs that barked from behind chain-link fences. No one stopped her. No one asked why an 8-year-old girl was wandering the streets in the middle of the night with 2 babies. No one cared. Maya walked until her feet ached. She walked until Isaiah's fever made her arms feel like they were holding fire. She walked until the first gray light of dawn began to creep over the horizon. She found herself at a small park, just a patch of brown grass with a rusted swing set and a bench covered in graffiti. But it had a tree. A tree meant shade. Shade meant relief from the sun that would soon be beating down. Maya sank onto the bench. Her legs were trembling. Her arms were numb. Her stomach was a hollow pit of hunger and fear. We'll rest here for a little bit, she told Isaiah and Elijah. Just until the sun comes up. Then we'll find help. There has to be someone. A church, maybe. Or a police station. Someone will help us. She didn't believe her own words. But she said them anyway because the alternative was silence, and silence meant giving up, and Maya Johnson did not give up. Never had. Never would. The sun rose. The temperature climbed. By noon, the bench felt like a frying pan, and the tree's shade had shrunk to almost nothing. Maya had tried knocking on doors. 7 houses, 7 rejections. Sorry, can't help you. I don't have any money. You need to call the police, not bother regular folks. Get off my property before I call the cops myself. At the 8th house, an elderly woman had peered at her through a screen door and asked where her parents were. When Maya explained, the woman's face had softened for just a moment. Wait here, she said. Let me get you some water. She never came back. After 20 minutes, Maya heard the television turn on inside the house and realized the woman had simply forgotten, or chosen to forget. It didn't matter which. Maya returned to the bench in the park. Isaiah had stopped crying entirely. He lay limp in her arms, his eyes glassy, his skin dry and hot. Elijah was barely conscious, his lips cracked, his breath coming in short gasps. They were dying. Maya knew it with a certainty that settled into her bones like ice. Her brothers were dying, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. Mama, the word slipped out before she could stop it. Mama, I need you. I don't know what to do. I promised I would take care of them. I promised. But I can't do this alone. I'm just a kid, and I can't save them, and I need you, please, please, please. No answer came. No divine intervention, no miracle. Just the sound of traffic from the nearby street. Just the barking of a dog somewhere far away. Just the relentless beat of the sun. Maya closed her eyes. She thought about her mother. Remembered the way she smelled like cocoa butter and lavender. Remembered her laugh, big and loud and unafraid. Remembered the last time she saw her in the hospital bed after the twins were born, exhausted but glowing, holding Isaiah in one arm and Elijah in the other. "You're a big sister now, baby girl," her mother had said. "These little ones are going to need you. Can you promise me you'll always look out for them? I promise, Mama. That's my brave girl." 3 months later, her mother was dead. A car accident, they said. Wet roads, lost control. Nothing anyone could have done. Maya had kept her promise. Through the funeral. Through the social workers. Through the Walker's house and Aunt Denise's cruelty and Uncle Terrence's indifference. She had kept her promise for 2 years, 4 months, and 16 days. And now sitting on a bench in a park in Compton, she was going to fail. "I'm sorry." Maya's voice broke. "I'm so sorry, Mama. I tried. I really tried." She didn't know how long she sat there. Minutes, hours. Time lost meaning in the heat. At some point, she became aware of footsteps. Someone approaching. Maya opened her eyes. A woman stood in front of her. Young, maybe 30, with kind eyes and a concerned expression. She was holding a bottle of water. "Oh my God," the woman said. "Honey, are you okay? Are these your siblings? They look sick. Let me call someone." For a moment, hope flared in Maya's chest. Finally. Finally someone who would help. Then a car pulled up to the curb. A nice car, shiny and black. The window rolled down and a man's voice called out. "Keisha, come on, we're gonna be late." The woman. Keisha glanced back at the car, then at Maya, then at the car again. Just 1 second she called back. She turned to Maya, pressing the water bottle into her hands. "Here, drink this, and there's a hospital about 2 miles that way." She pointed vaguely east. "They have to treat you even if you can't pay. Good luck. Okay, I hope everything works out." And then she was gone, walking back to the shiny car, getting in, driving away. Maya stared at the water bottle in her hands. Room temperature. Probably warm from sitting in Keisha's car. She gave it to Isaiah first, tilting it carefully so he could sip without choking. Then Elijah, who barely had the strength to swallow. There was enough left for Maya to take 1 mouthful herself. It wasn't enough. It was never enough. 2 miles to the hospital. Maya tried to calculate. Walking, carrying both babies in this heat. It would take an hour, maybe more. Did Isaiah and Elijah have an hour? She didn't know, but she knew she had to try. Maya stood up. Her vision swam. She steadied herself against the bench until the world stopped spinning. 1 foot in front of the other, she told herself, just like Mama used to say, 1 foot in front of the other, and eventually you get where you're going. She started walking. By the time she reached Crenshaw Boulevard, Maya had stopped sweating. She knew from health class that this was bad. When you stopped sweating in the heat, it meant your body was running out of water. It meant you were in danger. But she couldn't stop, couldn't rest. Every minute that passed was a minute closer to losing her brothers. The street was busy, cars rushing past, honking music blaring from open windows. People on the sidewalks walking fast, looking at their phones, not seeing the girl with the 2 babies who was stumbling along like she might collapse at any moment. Maya's feet were bleeding. She could feel the blisters breaking open, leaving red footprints on the hot concrete. Her arms had gone numb from holding Isaiah. Her chest ached from the weight of Elijah in the carrier. Almost there. Just a little further. Almost. She didn't see the crack in the sidewalk. Her foot caught. She pitched forward. In the split second before she hit the ground, Maya twisted her body, throwing herself sideways so she would land on her shoulder instead of on her brother's. The impact drove the air from her lungs. Pain exploded through her arm. Isaiah screamed the sound thin and weak. Elijah didn't make any noise at all. Maya lay on the sidewalk gasping, trying to breathe, trying to think, trying to get up. Someone stepped over her, then another person, then another. "Please," Maya managed, "please help." No one stopped. She forced herself to roll over, pushed herself up onto her hands and knees. Isaiah was still in the crook of her arm, crying weakly. Elijah was still strapped to her chest, his eyes closed, his face pale. "Get up," Maya told herself. "Get up, get up, get up." She got up. She kept walking. At the corner of Crenshaw and 147th, Maya found a bus bench. Not because she was looking for one, but because her legs simply stopped working and it was either sit down or fall down. She collapsed onto the hot metal, clutching her brothers, her whole body shaking. This was it. This was as far as she could go. Okay. Maya's voice was barely audible, cracked and dry. Okay, God or whoever's listening, I don't ask for much. I never have. But right now I'm asking, please, not for me, for them. They're just babies. They haven't done anything wrong. They don't deserve to die on a street corner because nobody cares. Please, send someone. Anyone. She closed her eyes. The sound of an engine made her open them again. A car was pulling up to the curb. Not just any car. A Rolls-Royce, black and gleaming, the kind of car Maya had only ever seen in movies. The window rolled down. A man looked out at her. He was older, maybe 60, with silver hair at his temples and deep brown eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. He was wearing a suit that probably cost more than everything the Walkers owned put together. For a long moment he just looked at her. At the babies. At her bloody feet and her tear-stained face and her dress that was 2 sizes too small and held together with safety pins. When he spoke, his voice was quiet but firm. How long have they been sick? Maya blinked. Of all the things she had expected him to say, that wasn't one of them. Since last night. The words came out automatically. Their fevers started around midnight. I tried to give them cool baths, but we didn't have a real bathtub, just a bucket, and I tried to give them extra milk, but my aunt said only 1 spoonful a day, and when I took more, she got mad and she threw us out, and I've been walking all night and all day, and I think they're dying. And please, please, if you have any water, anything, I'll pay you back. I promise, when I grow up, I'll find you and pay you back everything. Maya's voice had risen to a desperate pitch. She clamped her mouth shut, suddenly terrified. That she had said too much, that this man would think she was crazy, that he would drive away just like everyone else. But he didn't drive away. Instead, he opened the car door and stepped out. Up close, he was tall, imposing. But his eyes were kind. My name is Marcus Thompson, he said. I'm going to help you. Maya wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him so badly. But she had heard those words before. From social workers who never came back. From teachers who transferred away. From neighbors who whispered, I'm sorry, and then closed their doors. Help, how her voice came out harder than she intended, sharpened by fear and exhaustion and 2 years of broken promises. Everyone says they'll help. No one actually does. They say the words and then they disappear, and it's worse than if they never said anything at all, because at least then you don't get your hopes up. Marcus didn't flinch. He crouched down so he was at eye level with her, his expensive suit pressing against the dirty sidewalk. I understand why you don't trust me, he said. I'm a stranger. You have no reason to believe anything I say, but I'm going to ask you to take a chance anyway. Not because I expect you to trust me, but because your brothers need help right now, and I'm the help that's here. My car has air conditioning. I have water. I have a phone that can call a doctor, and I have nowhere else to be except right here making sure you and your brothers are safe. Maya looked at him, looked at the car, looked at Isaiah, who had stopped crying and was now just lying limply in her arms, his eyes half closed. Looked at Elijah, who hadn't moved in what felt like hours. She didn't have a choice, she knew that. Even if this man was a murderer, a kidnapper, the worst kind of predator, she had to take the chance. Because the alternative was staying on this bench and watching her brothers die. Okay, she whispered. Marcus stood and offered his hand. Maya took it. His grip was firm but gentle, the hand of someone who knew how to be strong without being harsh. He helped her to her feet, steadied her when she swayed, guided her toward the car with one hand on her shoulder, light but supportive. The back door opened. Cold air rushed out, so shocking after hours in the heat that Maya gasped. And then she saw the 2 young men already sitting in the back seat. They were twins, identical or nearly so, with the same dark skin as Marcus and the same sharp features. They looked like they were in their early 20s, dressed in clothes that screamed money. One wore a gray shirt with a loosened tie, his expression cold and suspicious. The other had his arms crossed over his chest, his mouth twisted in obvious displeasure. The air in the car, despite the air conditioning, suddenly felt very cold. Dad. The one with the tie spoke first. His voice was flat, controlled, but Maya could hear the irritation beneath it. What is this? These are Maya, Isaiah, and Elijah Johnson, Marcus said, calmly helping Maya into the seat. They need our help. Maya, these are my sons Jamal and Deshaun. Jamal, the one who had spoken, let out a short laugh. You cannot be serious right now. Dead serious. Marcus closed the door behind Maya and walked around to the driver's seat. We're going to stop at a pharmacy first, then take them to see Dr. Patterson. No, Deshaun finally spoke up. His voice was sharper than his brother's, more openly hostile. No, this is insane. You just picked up random kids off the street, Dad. They could be anyone. This could be some kind of scam, a setup. We don't know anything about them. Maya felt her face burn with shame. She hunched her shoulders, trying to make herself smaller, less visible. Isaiah whimpered in her arms. Elijah didn't move at all. I'm not a scammer. The words came out before Maya could stop them, quiet but firm. I'm not trying to trick anyone. I'm just trying to keep my brothers alive. Something shifted in the air. Deshaun looked at her, really looked at her for the first time. His eyes traveled from her tear-stained face to her bloody feet to the tiny babies pressed against her body. Jesus Christ, his voice had changed. How old are you? 8. You're 8 years old. I'll be 9 in March. Silence filled the car. Marcus started the engine and pulled away from the curb. Jamal shifted in his seat. His expression hadn't softened exactly, but the hostility had faded into something more complicated. 8 years old, and you've been taking care of infant twins by yourself, not by myself. Maya kept her eyes fixed on the window, watching the building slide past. We lived with my aunt and uncle, but they had rules about how much food we could have, about when we could eat, about how I was supposed to keep the babies quiet no matter what, even when they were sick. Rules? Marcus's voice was tight. What kind of rules? Maya bit her lip. Isaiah stirred against her shoulder, and she adjusted her grip automatically, a motion she had performed thousands of times. 1 spoonful of formula a day, she said finally, for both of them together mixed with extra water to make it stretch. And if they cried too much, I had to take them outside because Aunt Denise said the noise gave her headaches. And if I couldn't make them stop crying, I didn't get dinner. And if I talked back or asked for anything or looked at her the wrong way, she would. Maya stopped. With her free hand, she pulled down the collar of her dress just slightly. The movement revealed a pattern of bruises along her shoulder, some fresh and dark, others faded to yellow-green. The car went silent. Deshaun swore softly and turned to look out the window. Jamal's jaw tightened until a muscle jumped in his cheek. Marcus's knuckles turned white on the steering wheel. You're never going back there, Marcus said. His voice was quiet, but there was something underneath it, something hard and unyielding. Do you understand me, Maya? Never. Maya didn't respond. She had heard promises before. She had learned not to believe them. The pharmacy was bright and clean and full of products Maya didn't recognize. Marcus left the car running with the air conditioning on and went inside. Through the window, Maya watched him move through the aisles, filling a basket with formula diapers, medicine, and a dozen other things. In the back seat, the silence stretched. Finally, Deshaun cleared his throat. Those bruises, that was from your aunt? Maya nodded without looking at him. How often, whenever I did something wrong? How often was that? Every day. Maya's voice was flat, emotionless. There was always something. I walked too loud. I breathed too loud. The babies cried too much. I ate too much. I ate too little. I looked at her funny. I didn't look at her at all. She always found a reason. Did you ever tell anyone? Jamal asked. Teachers, police once. Maya finally turned to meet his eyes. Once I told a police officer. Aunt Denise cried and said I was troubled, that I made up stories for attention. He believed her. That night, she broke 2 of my fingers. She held up her left hand. The ring finger and pinky were visibly crooked, bent at angles that fingers shouldn't bend. Neither twin spoke for a long moment. Your dad seems nice, Maya said, breaking the silence. Nicer than most people. He is. Deshaun's voice had lost its edge. He's the best person I know. Then why did you look at me like that when I got in the car, like I was trash you wanted to throw away? The words hung in the air. Deshaun had the grace to look ashamed. We've seen it before, he said slowly. People who pretend to need help to get close to our father. To get his money. His connections. You learn to be suspicious. I don't want his money. Maya's voice was firm. I just need milk for my brothers. That's all I've ever wanted since my mama died. Just enough milk to keep them alive for one more day. The car door opened. Marcus climbed in, setting 2 heavy bags on the passenger seat. Here. He handed Maya a bottle of water and a package of crackers. Eat something. You look like you're about to collapse. Maya took the water and drank deeply. The crackers she put in her pocket. Those are for you, Marcus said gently. I bought more for later. I don't eat when my brothers can't eat. Once they're fed, then I'll eat. Marcus met her eyes in the rearview mirror. After a long moment, he nodded. The doctor's office was in a tall building downtown. Dr. Patterson was a black woman with gray-streaked hair and steady hands. She examined both babies while Maya stood rigid against the wall, watching every movement. Moderate fever in this one, the doctor said, indicating Isaiah. Viral infection complicated by severe dehydration and malnutrition. The other one is worse. His lungs are congested and he's significantly underweight for his age. She turned to look at Maya. When did they last have a full meal? Maya thought about it. I tried to give them as much as I could, but we were only allowed 1 spoonful a day. Dr. Patterson's voice was carefully neutral. Your aunt told me. She called ahead. Maya's blood ran cold. What Mrs. Walker called the office about an hour ago. Said her niece had run away and might try to bring the children here. Said you have a history of making up stories. Said the children are fine and you're just looking for attention. Marcus stepped forward. Dr. Patterson? I know. The doctor held up her hand. I've known you for 20 years, Marcus, and I've been a pediatrician for 30. I know what neglect looks like. I know what abuse looks like. And I know what a desperate child trying to save her siblings looks like. She looked at Maya. I didn't believe a word your aunt said. Maya felt something crack open in her chest. I'm going to report this to Child Protective Services, Dr. Patterson continued. It's the law when suspected abuse is involved. I'm also going to admit both babies to the hospital overnight for observation and treatment. No, Maya's voice was sharp with panic. No, I can't leave them. I promised I would take care of them. I promised my mama. Dr. Patterson crouched down so she was at eye level with Maya, the same thing Marcus had done. What's your name, sweetheart Maya? Maya Johnson. Maya, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Your brothers are going to be okay, but they need medical care that I can't provide here in my office. IVs for the dehydration, antibiotics for the infections, monitoring to make sure the fevers don't spike again. You did an incredible job keeping them alive, but now it's time to let someone help you carry that weight. I don't know how. The confession slipped out before Maya could stop it. I don't know how to let anyone help. Everyone who was supposed to help has hurt us. Everyone who was supposed to protect us has let us down. How do I know you won't do the same? Dr. Patterson didn't look away. You don't know. That's the honest answer, but I can tell you this. I've spent my entire career fighting for children who had no one else to fight for them. I've testified in court. I've stood up to abusers. I've adopted 3 kids myself who came from situations just like yours. I don't make promises I can't keep. So when I tell you that I will do everything in my power to keep you and your brothers safe, I need you to understand that I mean every word. Maya searched the doctor's face for any sign of deception. She found none. Okay, she whispered. Okay. 2 hours later, Isaiah and Elijah were admitted to the pediatric ward at Cedars-Sinai. Maya refused to leave the room. She sat between their 2 cribs, one hand on each baby as if her touch alone could anchor them to the world. Marcus sat in a chair in the corner watching her. You should get some rest, he said quietly. There's a cot they can bring in. I'm not tired. Maya, you've been awake for over 36 hours. You've walked miles in the heat. You've barely eaten. Your body needs rest. My body needs my brothers to be okay. Everything else can wait. Marcus was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke again. When my wife died, I didn't sleep for 4 days. I just sat by her hospital bed, holding her hand, even after she was gone. The nurses tried to make me leave. The doctors tried to sedate me. Nothing worked. I couldn't let go. Maya looked at him. Her voice was barely a whisper. What happened? On the 5th day, my sons started crying. They were in the nursery, and the nurses were taking care of them, but they wouldn't stop crying. The nurse came and got me, said maybe they needed their father, and when I walked in and picked them up, both of them at once, they stopped crying immediately, just looked at me with those big eyes and stopped. And I realized something. I couldn't bring their mother back. I couldn't change what had happened, but I could take care of them. I could be there for them. That was the only thing I had any power over. So I put them in their car seats and drove them home and started the long, impossible work of learning how to be a single father. Maya absorbed this in silence. Isaiah stirred in his crib, making a small sound. Automatically, Maya began to hum a soft lullaby that her mother used to sing. You have a beautiful voice, Marcus said. My mama used to sing this song. Maya's voice caught. She sang it every night before bed. She said it was magic, that it could fix anything, but it couldn't fix her. No. Marcus's voice was gentle, but it's keeping your brothers calm. Maybe that's the magic. Maya looked at Isaiah and Elijah. Both babies had settled, their faces peaceful, their breathing steady. Can I ask you something? Maya said. Anything. Why did you stop? On the street, I mean. Nobody else stopped. People walked right past me, drove right past me. But you stopped. Marcus was quiet for a long time before answering. 28 years ago, I was just like you, not exactly like you. I didn't have siblings to protect, but I had nothing. Less than nothing. I was 18 years old, living on the streets, eating out of dumpsters, sleeping under bridges. Everyone I asked for help turned away. And then one day, a man stopped. What happened? He bought me a meal, listened to my story, gave me a chance, a job in his company, a place to sleep, a reason to believe that I wasn't worthless. That man changed my life, and when he died 8 years ago, do you know what his last words to me were? Maya shook her head. Pass it on. Marcus leaned forward, his eyes intense. 3 words. Pass it on. So that's what I'm doing, Maya. I'm passing it on. I stopped because someone stopped for me once, because I know what it feels like to be invisible, because I made a promise to a dying man that I would never walk past someone who needed help. Maya felt tears sliding down her cheeks. She didn't try to stop them. I don't trust you, she said. I want to, but I don't know how. I know. Marcus stood and walked over to her chair. He crouched down beside her. I'm not asking you to trust me tonight. I'm asking you to let me prove myself, day by day, week by week, for as long as it takes, and if it takes forever, then we have forever. Maya looked at this man who had appeared out of nowhere and disrupted every expectation she had about how the world worked. Rich people didn't help. Strangers didn't care. Nobody stopped. But he had stopped. Okay, she said. Okay, I'll give you a chance. Marcus smiled. It transformed his whole face, made him look younger, kinder. That's all I ask. The door opened. Jamal and Deshawn walked in carrying paper bags. We brought food, Deshawn announced. Real food, not hospital food. There's chicken and rice and vegetables and this apple pie from this place down the street that Dad always... He stopped when he saw Maya's tear-stained face. His expression shifted, the last traces of suspicion melting away. Hey. His voice was gruff but not unkind. You okay? Maya wiped her face with the back of her hand. I'm fine. Jamal set his bag down on the side table. Listen, I owe you an apology. When you got in the car, I was... He struggled with the words. I was an ass. I judged you without knowing anything about you. That wasn't right. Maya blinked at him, surprised. You don't have to apologize. You were protecting your father. I would have done the same thing. Yeah, well... Jamal ran a hand over his head. I still shouldn't have looked at you like that, like you were a problem to be dealt with, instead of a kid who needed help. It's okay. Maya's voice was quiet. I'm used to it. That's the problem. Deshawn spoke up. You shouldn't be used to it. You're 8 years old. You should be used to birthday parties and playground fights and arguing about bedtime. Not this. Never this. Maya didn't know how to respond to that. She had never thought about what she should be used to. She only knew what she was. The apple pie, she said finally. Can I have a piece? Deshawn grinned. You can have the whole damn thing if you want. For the first time in longer than she could remember, Maya smiled. 3 days later, Isaiah and Elijah were released from the hospital. Their fevers had broken. Their lungs had cleared. They had gained weight, actual visible weight from proper feeding. Maya held them in her arms as Marcus drove them to his penthouse. She still wasn't sure what came next. Child Protective Services had opened an investigation. The Walkers had been contacted. There would be interviews and evaluations and court dates. But for now, for this moment, her brothers were alive and safe, and that was enough. The penthouse took her breath away. She had never seen a home this large, this clean, this filled with light. This is your room. Marcus opened a door to reveal a space bigger than the entire bedroom she had shared with her brothers at the Walkers' house. There's a crib for the babies by the window, extra blankets in the closet, and if you need anything at all, I'm right across the hall. Maya stood in the doorway, afraid to step inside. Why are you doing this? The question burst out of her. You don't even know me. You have your own life, your own sons. Why would you take on 3 more kids? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. From it, he extracted an old, worn photograph. It showed a young man barely more than a teenager standing in front of a rundown building. His clothes were torn. His face was gaunt. But his eyes were fierce, determined, alive. That's me, Marcus said. 28 years ago. That photo was taken the day I got my first job. The day someone believed in me. He looked at Maya. I see that same look in your eye. That same fire. And I refuse to let the world put it out. Maya took the photograph, studied it, handed it back. Thank you, she said. The words felt inadequate, but they were all she had. Don't thank me yet. Marcus smiled. We have a long road ahead, but we'll walk it together, all of us. That night, Maya lay in her new bed in her new room in her new life. Isaiah and Elijah slept peacefully in their crib, their bellies full, their fevers gone. For the first time in 2 years, Maya allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, things were going to be okay. But even as she drifted toward sleep, a small voice in the back of her mind whispered a warning. The walkers weren't going to let them go without a fight. Aunt Denise's phone call to Dr. Patterson had proven that. They would come for them. They would try to take them back. And when they did, Maya would be ready. She had been fighting her whole life. She wasn't about to stop now. Across the city, in a house in Compton, Denise Walker slammed down her phone. "That's right," she hissed into the darkness. "Run to your rich savior. See how long that lasts." Beside her, Terrence stirred. "What are you mumbling about those kids?" Denise's voice was sharp with fury. "They think they've escaped. They think they're safe, but they don't know who they're dealing with. What are you going to do?" Denise smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "I'm going to get them back," she said. "Whatever it takes. Those children are mine. And nobody, not some rich fool with a hero complex, not the police, not anyone is going to take them from me." She picked up her phone again and dialed a number. A man's voice answered. "Hello, Victor?" Denise's voice was smooth now, controlled. "It's Denise Walker. I need your help with something. A legal matter." On the other end, attorney Victor Barnes leaned back in his chair. "I'm listening." And as the city slept, plans were set in motion that would bring everything crashing down. The battle for Maya, Isaiah, and Elijah had only just begun. Victor Barnes arrived at the Walker house at 11:45 that same night. He was a thin man with sharp features and eyes that calculated everything they saw. His suit was expensive but rumpled, the kind of clothing worn by someone who spent more time in courtrooms than boardrooms. Denise met him at the door before he could knock. "You came fast," she said. "You said it was urgent." Barnes stepped inside, his gaze sweeping the living room. "Nice place. Modest. The kind of house that makes judges sympathetic. That's why we bought it." Terrence emerged from the kitchen, a beer in hand. Denise's sister left those kids a house in Baldwin Hills and a life insurance policy worth $800,000. But the will said the money goes to whoever has custody of the children when the youngest turns 18. Barnes's eyebrows rose. 800,000. Now I understand the urgency. It's not about the money. Denise's voice was sharp. It's about family. Those children belong with us. We're their blood relatives. That man that Marcus Thompson, he just swooped in and took them. That's kidnapping. Is it Barnes settled into a chair without being invited? From what I understand, the children were found on the street, abandoned. Mr. Thompson provided emergency assistance. We didn't abandon them. Denise's hands clenched into fists. Maya ran away. She's troubled, has been since her mother died. Makes up stories, causes problems. We've tried everything with that girl, but she's determined to destroy this family. Barnes pulled out a notepad. Tell me about the stories she makes up. She claims we don't feed her, claims we hit her. Complete lies, all of it. We've given those children everything. Clothes, food, a roof over their heads. And this is how Maya repays us. Terrence nodded vigorously. Kid's got a screw loose. Always has. Her mama was the same way. Drama runs in that side of the family. Barnes wrote something down. And you have documentation records that show you've been providing adequate care. Denise hesitated for just a fraction of a second. Of course we do. Good. Barnes stood. Here's what we're going to do. First thing tomorrow morning, I'm filing an emergency custody petition. We'll claim that Mr. Thompson is holding the children against their will, that he's interfering with an established family unit. I have contacts at family court who can fast-track the hearing. How fast? 3 days, maybe 4. Denise smiled. That's what I like to hear. There's one more thing. Barnes paused at the door. The children were admitted to Cedars-Sinai. Medical records exist. If those records show signs of neglect or abuse, our case falls apart. They won't. Denise's voice was ice cold. I know people at that hospital. The records will say exactly what they need to say. Barnes studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. I'll be in touch. The door closed behind him. Denise turned to her husband, her eyes bright with triumph. 3 days, she said. In 3 days we get those kids back. And this time Maya is going to learn what happens when she tries to run. Terrence took a long drink of his beer. What about Thompson man's got money? Connections. He's not going to just hand them over. Let him fight. Denise's smile widened. In the end, blood is thicker than water. The courts always side with family. She picked up her phone and began scrolling through her contacts. Now she murmured, let me make a call about those medical records. The next morning came too quickly. Maya woke to the sound of crying. Not panicked crying, and not the desperate wails she had grown used to at the Walker house. Just normal, hungry baby crying. She was on her feet before she was fully awake, muscle memory carrying her to the crib where Isaiah was fussing. Hey, little man. She lifted him carefully, supporting his head the way the nurses had shown her. You hungry? Yeah, I bet you are. The door opened. Jamal stood there looking awkward in sweatpants and a t-shirt, his hair uncombed. I heard him crying. I thought maybe you needed help. Maya blinked at him, surprised. You know how to take care of babies, Dad made us learn. Said it was important for us to know how to care for people who couldn't care for themselves. Jamal moved into the room, his movements uncertain. I haven't done it in a while, but I remember the basics. Can you hold him while I get the formula ready? Jamal hesitated, then reached out and took Isaiah from her arms. The baby squirmed for a moment, then settled against Jamal's chest. He's so small, Jamal said quietly. I forgot how small they are. Maya was already at the small table Marcus had set up with formula and bottles. He was smaller when he was born, 2 months premature. The doctor said he might not make it through the first night. But he did. He's a fighter, like his sister. Maya glanced up. Jamal was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. I'm not a fighter, she said. I'm just someone who doesn't know how to quit. Same thing. The formula was ready. Maya took Isaiah back and began feeding him, watching his small mouth work at the bottle. Can I ask you something? Jamal said. Maya nodded. Last night when you were talking to my dad, you said everyone who was supposed to protect you had let you down. Were you talking about more than just your aunt and uncle? Maya was silent for a long moment. Isaiah's sucking sounds filled the quiet. My mama died in a car accident, she said finally. 4 months after the twins were born, the police said she lost control on a wet road. But Mama was the most careful driver I ever knew. She never went too fast, never took chances. She used to say that she had 3 babies depending on her and she wasn't going to let anything happen to her if she could help it. You don't think it was an accident? I don't know what it was. Maya's voice was flat. I just know that my mama is dead and my daddy left before I was born, and every adult I've ever trusted has either died or hurt me. So when your father says he wants to help, I want to believe him. I really do, but there's a part of me that's just waiting for him to turn into another person who lets me down. Jamal was quiet. In the crib, Elijah began to stir. My mother died when we were born, Jamal said. Deshaun and me. Complications during delivery. Dad almost didn't survive it. Not physically, emotionally. He went to a really dark place for a really long time. I'm sorry. The point is he came back. Jamal's voice was firm. He could have given up. Could have handed us off to nannies and thrown himself into work and pretended we didn't exist. But he didn't. He raised us himself. Every diaper change, every late night feeding, every soccer game and school play. He was there. He's not perfect, but he doesn't give up on people. Maya looked at him. Why are you telling me this? Because I was wrong about you. And because I want you to know that when my father makes a promise, he keeps it. He said he's going to help you, and he will, even if it costs him everything. Before Maya could respond, Marcus appeared in the doorway. His face was grim. We need to talk, he said. All of us. They gathered in the living room. Marcus, Jamal, Deshaun, and Maya, who held a now-sleeping Isaiah while Elijah dozed in a portable bassinet. I just got off the phone with my lawyer, Marcus said. The Walkers have filed an emergency custody petition. They're claiming I kidnapped the children. That's insane. Deshaun shot to his feet. You found them on the street. They were dying. The law doesn't always care about context. Marcus's voice was heavy. The Walkers are the children's legal guardians. They have documentation. Birth certificates, custody papers from when Maya's mother died. On paper, they look like concerned family members trying to get their kids back from a stranger. But they threw us out. Maya's voice was small. They poured our milk down the drain and threw us into the street. I know, and we're going to prove that. But right now, we need to be prepared for a fight. What kind of fight? Jamal asked. A court hearing. 3 days from now. The Walkers are pushing for an emergency ruling that would return the children to their custody immediately. Maya felt the blood drain from her face. No, the word came out as a whisper. No, please. I can't go back there. I can't take my brothers back there. Marcus crossed the room and knelt in front of her chair. The same gesture he had made on the bus bench. The same level gaze, the same steady presence. Listen to me, he said. I am not going to let that happen. I have lawyers, resources, connections. We are going to fight this with everything we have. But what if it's not enough? Maya's voice cracked. What if the judge believes them? What if they take us back, and this time they make sure I can never tell anyone what really happened? Marcus took her hand. His grip was warm and firm. Maya, I made you a promise. I don't break my promises. Whatever happens in that courtroom, I will be there. My sons will be there. We will not let you face this alone. Dad's right. Deshaun spoke up, his voice rough. Those people hurt you. They starved your brothers. They threw you out like garbage. There's no way any judge with half a brain is going to send you back to that. You don't know that. Maya's eyes were wet. Judges believe adults. They believe family. They don't believe kids who make up stories. Is that what you think you're doing? Marcus asked gently. Making up stories? No. But that's what they'll say. That's what they always say. That I'm troubled. That I lie. That I'm the problem. Then we'll prove them wrong. Marcus stood. Starting right now. I want you to tell me everything that happened in that house. Every detail, every bruise, every punishment, every time they denied you food. Can you do that? Maya looked at him. Looked at Jamal and Deshawn, who were watching her with expressions of support she had never expected to see. Yes, she said. I can do that. For the next 2 hours, Maya talked. She told them about the rules. 1 spoonful of milk a day for the babies. 1 slice of bread for dinner, sometimes 2 if Aunt Denise was feeling generous. No snacks, no seconds, no complaining. She told them about the punishments. Locked in the closet for crying. Sent outside in the rain for talking back. Beaten with a belt for breaking a plate, for spilling water, for existing in a way that Aunt Denise found offensive. She told them about the night her fingers were broken. She had been trying to call the police, had managed to dial 911 before Denise caught her. Denise had grabbed her hand and bent her fingers back until they snapped, then told Maya that if she ever tried something like that again, it would be her neck. She told them about Isaiah and Elijah, how she had to keep them quiet at all costs, how she would stay up all night walking them, rocking them, doing anything to prevent them from crying and drawing Denise's wrath. How she had watched them get thinner and weaker, had known they were dying slowly, had been unable to stop it. When she was done, the room was silent. Jamal had turned away, his shoulders shaking. Deshawn sat with his head in his hands. Marcus's face was a mask of controlled fury. Is there anything else? Marcus asked quietly. Anything at all? Maya hesitated. There is one thing, but I don't know if it matters. Everything matters. The night before we got thrown out, I heard Aunt Denise and Uncle Terrence talking. They didn't know I was awake. They were arguing about money, about my mama's life insurance. What did they say? Uncle Terrence said something like the plan was supposed to work, and Aunt Denise said something about being patient, that they just had to wait until the investigation was closed, and then the money would be theirs. Marcus went very still. What investigation? I don't know. Maya's brow furrowed. I think maybe about my mama's accident. The police came to the house a few times after she died, asked questions. But then they stopped coming and no one talked about it anymore. Marcus pulled out his phone. I need to make a call. He stepped into the hallway. Through the partially open door, Maya could hear fragments of conversation. Angela, it's Marcus Thompson. I need a favor. There's a car accident from about 2 years ago, a woman named. What was your mother's name? Keisha Johnson, Maya called out. Keisha Johnson, Marcus repeated into the phone. I need to know if there was ever an investigation, and if so, what the findings were. Yes. Yes, I understand. Thank you, Angela. I owe you. He returned to the living room, his expression thoughtful. Who's Angela? Deshawn asked. Detective Angela Reyes. LAPD, an old friend who owes me several favors. She's going to look into your mother's accident. Maya felt something flutter in her chest. Hope. That dangerous emotion she had spent 2 years trying to kill. You think something happened to my mama? She said. Something that wasn't an accident. I think Marcus said carefully that your aunt and uncle are very interested in money that should belong to you and your brothers. And I think that when people are very interested in money, they sometimes do terrible things to get it. The next 2 days passed in a blur of preparation. Marcus's lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia Coleman, came to the penthouse and spent hours interviewing Maya. She was thorough but kind, asking questions in a way that made Maya feel heard rather than interrogated. Dr. Patterson provided medical records showing the extent of the twins' malnutrition and dehydration. She also documented Maya's injuries, photographing every bruise and scar. A child psychologist came to evaluate Maya, asking gentle questions about her life at the Walker house. Maya told the truth. All of it, even the parts that made her voice shake and her hands tremble. On the morning of the 3rd day, Detective Angela Reyes called. Marcus put her on speaker so everyone could hear. I found something, Angela said. The accident that killed Keisha Johnson was initially investigated as a possible homicide. The brake lines showed signs of tampering. But the investigation was closed 6 weeks later due to insufficient evidence. Why was it closed? Marcus asked. Officially, because they couldn't prove anyone had access to the vehicle. But I did some digging. The detective who closed the case, a guy named Frank Morrison, retired 2 months later. Bought a nice house in San Diego. Way nicer than he should have been able to afford on a cop's pension. You think he was paid off. I think it's worth looking into. I've already requested that the case be reopened. But these things take time. We don't have time, Maya burst out. The hearing is tomorrow. I know. Angela's voice softened. I'm doing everything I can. In the meantime, focus on the custody hearing, one battle at a time. The call ended. Maya stared at the phone in Marcus's hand. They killed her. Her voice was hollow. Aunt Denise and Uncle Terrence killed my mama. For money. We don't know that for certain, Marcus said gently. I know. Maya's eyes were dry, but her face was pale as death. I know it the same way I know my name. They killed her, and then they took us in so they could get the money, and when we became too much trouble, they tried to kill us too. Just slower. No one contradicted her, because they all knew she was probably right. The night before the hearing, Maya couldn't sleep. She stood at the window of her room looking out at the city lights, holding Elijah against her chest. Isaiah was asleep in the crib, his breathing steady and strong. What are you thinking about? Maya turned. Jamal stood in the doorway, 2 cups of hot chocolate in his hands. I'm thinking about what happens if we lose tomorrow. We're not going to lose. You don't know that. Maya took the cup he offered, wrapping her fingers around its warmth. The law says they're our family. The law says we belong with them. The law doesn't care that they hurt us. Then we'll change the law. Jamal settled onto the floor beside her, his back against the wall, or at least show the judge that this particular family doesn't deserve to be called one. Can I ask you something? Maya said. Anything. If this was happening to you, if you were 8 years old and scared and everyone was telling you that you had to go back to people who hurt you, what would you do? Jamal was silent for a long moment. I'd fight, he said finally. I'd fight with everything I had. And if that wasn't enough, I'd find someone to fight with me. I'd keep fighting until I won or until I couldn't fight anymore. What if you couldn't win? Then I'd lose on my feet instead of giving up on my knees. Maya stared at him. That's what my mama used to say. Almost exactly. Then your mama was a smart woman. She was. Maya's voice caught. She was the smartest, bravest, kindest person I ever knew, and they took her from me. Jamal reached out and put his hand on her shoulder. It was awkward, uncertain, but genuine. We're going to make them pay for that, he said. I promise. You shouldn't make promises you can't keep. I'm my father's son. Jamal's voice was firm. I don't make promises I can't keep. Maya looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay, she said. Okay. Tomorrow we fight. Tomorrow came faster than anyone was ready for. The courthouse was a massive stone building that seemed designed to intimidate. Maya walked through its doors, flanked by Marcus on one side and Patricia Coleman on the other. Jamal and Deshawn followed close behind. The courtroom itself was smaller than Maya had expected. Wood-paneled walls, uncomfortable benches, a raised platform where the judge would sit. And there, already seated at the table on the opposite side of the room, were Denise and Terrence Walker. Denise was dressed in her finest clothes, a conservative dress and pearls that made her look like a Sunday school teacher. Her face was arranged in an expression of concerned motherhood. Terrence wore a suit that didn't quite fit his jaw set in what he probably thought was righteous anger. Their eyes met Maya's across the room. Denise's lips curved into a small, cold smile. Maya felt her knees start to buckle. Steady. Marcus's hand found her shoulder. Remember what we talked about. You're not alone anymore. The judge entered. Her name was Judge Lorraine Washington, a black woman in her 50s with silver-streaked hair and eyes that missed nothing. This is an emergency custody hearing, Judge Washington said. The matter before us concerns the temporary placement of 3 minor children, Maya Isaiah and Elijah Johnson. I've reviewed the petitions from both parties. I will hear arguments now. Victor Barnes stood. Your Honor, my clients, Mr. and Mrs. Walker are the legal guardians of these children and have been since their mother's tragic death 2 years ago. On the night in question, the eldest child, Maya, ran away from home, taking her infant siblings with her. Mr. Marcus Thompson, a complete stranger, then took the children into his home without notifying the proper authorities or the children's legal guardians. This constitutes kidnapping, Your Honor. We request that the children be returned to their family immediately. Patricia Coleman rose. Your Honor, my client did not kidnap anyone. He found 3 children abandoned on a public street. The eldest, Maya, was severely dehydrated. The infants were running dangerous fevers from malnutrition. Mr. Thompson provided emergency medical assistance and contacted a physician immediately. He has committed no crime. The only criminals in this room are the people who threw those children out in the first place. Objection. Barnes's voice was sharp. There is no evidence that my clients threw anyone out. Actually, there is. Patricia pulled a folder from her briefcase. I have here the sworn testimony of Dr. Lisa Patterson, who treated the children upon their arrival. She documented multiple signs of long-term neglect and abuse, including malnutrition, dehydration, and physical injuries consistent with beatings. Judge Washington held out her hand. Let me see that. While the judge reviewed the documents, Denise's mask slipped for just a moment. Her eyes found Maya, and the look in them was pure venom. Maya didn't look away. For the first time in 2 years, she held her aunt's gaze without flinching. "This is compelling," Judge Washington said finally. "However, I'd like to hear from the child herself. Maya, would you please approach the bench?" Maya stood. Her legs felt like water, but she forced them to move. One step, then another, until she stood before the judge's platform, small and alone. Maya, Judge Washington's voice was surprisingly gentle. "I need you to tell me in your own words what happened the night you left your aunt and uncle's house." Maya took a deep breath. She looked at Marcus, who nodded encouragingly. She looked at Jamal and Deshawn, who were watching her with something that looked like pride. Then she looked at Denise. At the woman who had beaten her starved, her broken, her fingers killed her mother. And she told the truth, every word, every detail, every horror she had endured for 2 years. When she finished, the courtroom was silent. Judge Washington leaned forward. "Is there anything else you want to tell me, Maya?" Maya hesitated. Then she spoke. "My aunt and uncle didn't take us in because they loved us. They took us in because my mama left us money, a lot of money, and they wanted it." She paused. "I think they might have killed my mama to get it." The courtroom exploded. Barnes leapt to his feet. "Objection! This is outrageous. The child is clearly lying. Order." Judge Washington banged her gavel. "Order in my courtroom." The doors at the back of the room burst open. Detective Angela Reyes strode in, flanked by 2 uniformed officers. "Your Honor, I apologize for the interruption, but I have evidence that is directly relevant to this case." Judge Washington's eyes narrowed. "This is highly irregular, Detective. I understand, Your Honor, but this cannot wait." Angela walked to the front of the room and handed a folder to the judge. "The case file for Keisha Johnson's death has been reopened. New evidence has come to light that the brake lines of her vehicle were deliberately tampered with. We have also discovered financial records showing that Terrence Walker made several large payments to the detective who originally closed the case." Judge Washington's face hardened. She looked at the Walkers, who had both gone pale. "Is this true?" "It's lies," Denise shrieked. "All lies. That girl put them up to this. She's always been a liar ever since she was born, Mrs. Walker." Judge Washington's voice cut like a knife. "You will be silent." Angela stepped forward. "There's more, Your Honor. Last night we obtained a warrant to search the Walker residence. We found multiple items belonging to Keisha Johnson that were reported stolen after her death. We also found documentation suggesting that the Walkers have been slowly draining the trust fund meant for the children." Judge Washington closed her eyes for a long moment. When she opened them, her face was stone. "This court finds that Maya Isaiah and Elijah Johnson are to be removed permanently from the custody of Terrence and Denise Walker. Temporary custody is granted to Mr. Marcus Thompson pending a full investigation." "No," Denise lunged toward the bench. "You can't do this. They're mine. They belong to me." The officers moved forward, grabbing her arms. Furthermore, Judge Washington continued, "I am ordering that Terrence and Denise Walker be taken into custody immediately on suspicion of murder, fraud, and child abuse." Terrence bolted for the door. He made it 3 steps before Deshawn stepped into his path. Going somewhere, the tackle brought them both to the ground. By the time the officers pulled Deshawn off, Terrence was zip-tied and whimpering. Maya watched it all unfold like a dream. The screaming, the chaos, the moment when the officers led Denise and Terrence out in handcuffs. Then Marcus was there, kneeling in front of her. "It's over," he said. "You're safe. You're all safe." Maya looked at him, at Jamal and Deshawn standing behind him, at the judge who was watching with something that might have been approval. "We won." Her voice was barely a whisper. "We won." For a moment, Maya just stood there, processing. Then she threw herself into Marcus's arms and sobbed. 2 years of fear, 2 years of pain, 2 years of silence and survival and watching her brothers slowly starve. It was over. It was finally over. She was free. The celebration at the penthouse lasted 3 hours. Patricia Coleman opened a bottle of champagne. Dr. Patterson stopped by to check on the twins and ended up staying for dinner. Even Detective Angela Reyes made an appearance, accepting a glass of sparkling water and a plate of food before heading back to the station to process the Walkers. Maya sat in the middle of it all, holding Elijah, while Isaiah slept peacefully in the new bassinet Marcus had purchased. She smiled when people spoke to her. She nodded at the right moments. She said thank you over and over again until the words lost meaning. But inside she felt hollow. The fear that had been her constant companion for 2 years was gone, and in its absence she didn't know who she was supposed to be. Deshawn noticed first. "Hey." He dropped onto the couch beside her, a plate of untouched food in his hands. "You okay? I'm fine. You're a terrible liar." Maya looked at him. For someone who didn't want me here 3 days ago, you're suddenly very concerned about my feelings." Deshawn had the grace to wince. "Yeah, well, 3 days ago I was an idiot." He set the plate down. "Seriously, though, you just survived something most adults couldn't handle. It's okay to not be okay." Maya was quiet for a long moment. Elijah squirmed in her arms, and she adjusted her grip automatically. "I keep waiting for something bad to happen," she said finally. "Like this is all a dream and I'm going to wake up back in that house. Or like there's a catch somewhere that I haven't figured out yet. There's no catch. There's always a catch." Maya's voice was flat. "Good things don't just happen. Not to people like me." Deshawn leaned forward. "What do you mean people like you? People nobody wants. People who get passed around like packages. People who have to fight for every scrap of food and every moment of peace. Good things happen to people like you. People with money and families and futures. Not to me." The words hung in the air between them. Deshawn's expression shifted from concern to something deeper. Something that looked almost like pain. "My mother died giving birth to me," he said quietly. "Did my dad tell you that?" Maya nodded. "For a long time I blamed myself. Thought if I hadn't been born, she'd still be alive. Dad tried everything to convince me otherwise, but I didn't believe him. I thought I was cursed, that I didn't deserve good things because my existence had cost someone else their life. What changed time? Therapy, and finally understanding that my mother chose to have me knowing the risks. She wanted me. She loved me before she ever saw my face, and the best way I can honor her is by living a life worth the sacrifice she made." Maya absorbed this in silence. "I don't know how to do that," she admitted. "Live a life, I mean. All I know how to do is survive." "Then we'll teach you." Deshawn's voice was firm. "Dad Jamal, me. We'll teach you." "Why? Why do you care? You don't even know me. Because my father cares, and because I was wrong about you, and because everyone deserves a chance to learn how to live instead of just survive." Maya felt something crack in her chest, a wall she had built so carefully over 2 years of silence and pain. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." That night, long after the celebration ended and the guests went home, Maya found herself standing outside Marcus's study. The door was slightly open, light spilling into the hallway. She knocked softly. "Come in." Marcus was sitting at his desk. Papers spread in front of him, reading glasses perched on his nose. He looked tired but content. "Can't sleep?" he asked. Maya shook her head. "Can I ask you something always?" She stepped into the room, her bare feet silent on the carpet. The question that had been burning in her mind all day finally found its way to her lips. "What happens now?" Marcus set down his pen and gave her his full attention. "What do you mean the hearing is over? Aunt Denise and Uncle Terrence are in jail. The twins are safe. But what happens to us? Do we go into foster care? Do we get adopted by someone else? Do we stay here until you get tired of us and send us away?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood, walked around his desk, and knelt down so he was at eye level with her. "Maya, I need you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to say. Can you do that?" She nodded. "When I found you on that bus bench, I wasn't looking for a cause or a project. I was coming back from visiting my wife's grave, same as I do every year on the anniversary of her death. I was thinking about her, about all the things she never got to see, about how much I still miss her, even after 22 years. He paused, his eyes distant. "And then I saw you. This tiny girl holding 2 babies, looking like she was ready to fight the whole world if she had to. And something in me just clicked, like a lock finding its key. I don't understand." Marcus reached out and took her hands. His grip was warm and steady. "My wife, before she died, made me promise something. She knew she wasn't going to survive the delivery. The doctors had told her the risks, but she insisted on having the babies anyway. And in those last few hours, she made me promise that I would never close my heart off, that I would always leave room for more love, more family, more connection. She said life was too short and too precious to spend it building walls." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "For 22 years, I've tried to keep that promise. But I didn't really understand what she meant until 3 days ago. Until I saw you. What are you saying? I'm saying that I want to adopt you. All 3 of you. I want to be your father legally and permanently. I want you to have my name, my home, my protection for the rest of your life. I want to give you what you should have had all along. A family that loves you without conditions, a place where you belong." Maya stared at him, her mouth open, but no words came out. "I know it's a lot to take in," Marcus continued, "and I'm not asking you to decide right now. There will be legal proceedings, home studies, interviews. It could take months, but I want you to know that my mind is made up. I'm not going anywhere, and neither are you. You want to be my father?" Maya's voice was barely a whisper, more than anything. But you don't know me. Not really. I could be terrible. I could be difficult. I could make your life miserable. Marcus smiled. You could, but I don't think you will. How do you know? Because I see myself in you. The same fire, the same stubbornness, the same refusal to give up no matter how bad things get. He squeezed her hands gently. Maya, I spent 28 years building a fortune, but the only thing that ever made me rich was my sons. And now if you'll let me, I'd like to add you and your brothers to that list. Maya couldn't speak. The tears she had been holding back for 3 days finally spilled over, streaming down her face. Is that a yes? Marcus asked gently. She threw herself into his arms and sobbed against his shoulder. Yes. The word came out broken, muffled against his suit jacket. Yes, yes, yes. Marcus held her tight, his own eyes wet. Welcome home, Maya. The next morning brought a harsh reminder that victory was never as simple as it seemed. Maya was in the kitchen helping Jamal prepare breakfast for the twins when Marcus's phone rang. She watched his face change as he listened, saw the lines deepen around his mouth. When his voice was sharp, how did this happen? He hung up and stood motionless for a long moment. Dad, Jamal set down the spatula. What's wrong? Denise Walker is out on bail. Maya felt the blood drain from her face. That's impossible, Jamal said. She's charged with murder. Her lawyer argued that she's not a flight risk and that the evidence is circumstantial. The judge set bail at $2 million. Someone paid it. Who would pay $2 million for her? I don't know. Marcus's jaw was tight. But I'm going to find out. Maya's hands had started shaking. She gripped the edge of the counter to steady herself. She's going to come for us. Her voice was barely audible. She's going to come for us, and this time she won't stop until we're dead. Marcus crossed the room in 3 strides and gripped her shoulders. Look at me, Maya. Look at me. She raised her eyes to his face. She is not going to touch you. Not ever again. I don't care what I have to do or how much it costs. You are my daughter now, and I protect what's mine. But she's out there. She's free, and we're prepared. Marcus's voice was steady, calming. I've already arranged for security. Howard is bringing in additional guards. No one gets into this building without clearance. You're safe. Maya wanted to believe him. She wanted to so badly it hurt. But Denise's face kept swimming before her eyes. That cold smile, those calculating eyes, the voice that had told her over and over again that she was worthless, unwanted, a burden. She's not going to stop, Maya said. She never stops. She always gets what she wants. Not this time. Marcus pulled her into a hug. This time she's met her match. The security team arrived within the hour. 4 men and 2 women, all former military, all vetted personally by Marcus. They took positions throughout the building, checking credentials, monitoring cameras, ensuring that no one suspicious came anywhere near the penthouse. Maya watched them work with a mixture of relief and dread. This was her life now. Guards and cameras and locked doors. Trading one prison for another, albeit a much nicer one. Deshawn found her staring out the window late that afternoon. Penny, for your thoughts. They're not worth that much. Try me. Maya was quiet for a long moment, then she spoke. When I was little, before everything went bad, my mama used to tell me this story, about a little bird who was born in a cage. The bird never knew anything else, so it thought the cage was the whole world. Then one day someone opened the door, and the bird was so scared of the big world outside that it stayed in the cage, even though it was free. You think you're the bird? I think I don't know how to be anything else. Maya's voice cracked. I've been fighting for so long, fighting to survive, fighting to protect my brothers, fighting to get through each day without breaking. And now the fight is supposed to be over, but I don't know how to stop fighting. I don't know how to just be. Deshawn moved to stand beside her. For a while, they both just looked out at the city spread below them. When my mom died, he said finally, my dad fell apart. I mean, really fell apart. He stopped eating, stopped sleeping. There were days when Jamal and I would find him just sitting in the dark, crying. We were only babies, but I remember the feeling of it. This heavy sadness that filled up all the spaces. What happened one day about a month after she was gone, Dad got up. He showered, got dressed, made breakfast. When we asked him what changed, he said he realized that staying broken wasn't going to bring her back, and that she would have kicked his ass if she saw him wasting his life on grief. Maya almost smiled at that. The point is, Deshawn continued healing isn't a straight line. It's not like you wake up one day and everything's fine. It's messy and hard, and sometimes you take 2 steps forward and 10 steps back. But you keep going, you keep trying, and eventually the cage starts to feel less like a prison and more like just a place you used to live. When did you get so wise? I watch a lot of self-help videos on YouTube. This time Maya did smile. Thanks, she said, for talking to me, For treating me like a person instead of a problem to be solved. You're not a problem, Maya. You're my sister. Or you will be once Dad gets all the paperwork sorted. Maya's breath caught. Sister. It was such a simple word. Such a powerful word. I never had a brother before, she said. Well, except for Isaiah and Elijah, but they're too little to count. Well, now you've got two. Deshaun grinned. Lucky you. The moment shattered with the sound of Marcus's phone ringing again. They both turned to watch as Marcus answered, his face going from calm to furious in a matter of seconds. She did what? Where is everyone okay? Maya's heart began to pound. Marcus hung up and turned to face them. His expression was grim. What happened? Deshaun demanded. Denise Walker just tried to break into Dr. Patterson's office. She was looking for the children's medical records. Security stopped her, but she got away before the police arrived. Maya felt her knees go weak. She's destroying evidence, that's what Angela thinks. Marcus was already moving toward the door. I'm going to the police station. Jamal, you're with me. Deshaun, stay here with Maya and the twins. Don't let anyone in except Howard and the security team. Dad, I should come with you. No, you stay. I need someone I trust watching over them. Deshaun looked like he wanted to argue, but something in his father's face stopped him. Yes, sir. Marcus paused at the door, turning back to look at Maya. I will handle this, he said. I promise. Then he was gone, and Maya was left standing in the middle of the living room, her whole body trembling. She's not going to stop. The words came out flat dead. She's never going to stop. We'll stop her. Deshaun's voice was fierce. Whatever it takes. You don't understand. Maya turned to face him, and he flinched at the look in her eyes. You don't know her like I do. She's not just mean, she's patient. She'll wait years if she has to. She'll plan and scheme and watch for any moment of weakness, and when she finds it, she'll strike. She killed my mother. She tried to kill my brothers. She won't stop until she gets what she wants. What does she want? The money. Maya's voice was bitter. That's all she's ever wanted. The insurance money for my mother's death? The trust fund. She doesn't care about us. She never did. We were just a means to an end. Then we take away her means. Deshaun began pacing. If it's about money, we cut off her access. Your dad's lawyer can probably. She's not my dad. The words came out harsher than Maya intended. She saw Deshaun flinch and felt a stab of guilt. I'm sorry. I didn't mean... It's okay? Deshaun's voice was gentle. It's a lot to process. It's just hard to believe that any of this is real, that your father actually wants us, that you and Jamal are being nice to me, that I'm not going to wake up tomorrow back in that house with Aunt Denise standing over me. You're not going back there. Deshaun's voice was firm. Ever. You can't promise that. Watch me. They stared at each other for a long moment. Then, to Maya's surprise, Deshaun smiled. You know what I like you, Maya Johnson. You've got fire. I've got trauma, Maya corrected. There's a difference. Maybe. But trauma can become fire if you let it. It can become strength. It can become the thing that makes you unstoppable. Or it can destroy you. True. But that's your choice. You can let what happened to you define you, or you can use it to build something new. Something stronger. Maya considered this. When did this become a therapy session, when you started sounding like you needed one? Before she could respond, Isaiah began to cry. Maya moved automatically toward the bassinet, her body already in caretaker mode. Hey, little man, she lifted him carefully, checking his forehead for fever out of habit. What's wrong? Hungry Isaiah's cries subsided as she held him close. His small hand gripped her finger, holding on tight. You're really good with them. Deshaun watched from across the room. Natural. I've had practice, too much practice. Deshaun's voice softened. When's the last time someone took care of you, Maya? The question caught her off guard. She stood there holding her baby brother, trying to remember. I don't know, she admitted. I don't think anyone ever has. Not since Mama died. Well, that changes now. Deshaun moved toward her, stopping just a few feet away. From now on, you're not alone. You've got Dad and Jamal and me. You've got a whole family who's going to have your back no matter what. Maya felt tears threatening again. She blinked them back. I don't know how to accept that. You don't have to know how. You just have to let us try. The hours crawled by. Marcus called twice with updates. Denise had disappeared after the incident at Dr. Patterson's office. The police were searching, but she seemed to have vanished into thin air. By 10 o'clock, Maya was exhausted but unable to sleep. She sat in the living room with Deshaun, both twins asleep in the nursery, the security team visible through the windows as they patrolled the hallway. Maybe she left town, Deshaun said without much conviction, cut her losses and ran. She didn't cut her losses when she killed my mother. Maya's voice was hollow. She's out there somewhere, planning, waiting. You need to get some sleep. I can't. Maya. Every time I close my eyes, I see her face. That smile she gets when she's about to hurt someone. Like she enjoys it. Like causing pain is the only thing that makes her feel alive. Deshaun was quiet for a moment, then he stood and walked to the bookshelf in the corner. He pulled out a worn photo album and brought it back to the couch. Let me show you something. He opened the album. Inside were photographs of two young boys identical in every way, smiling at the camera. A man held them younger, but unmistakably Marcus, his face split in a proud grin. That's me and Jamal on our first birthday, Deshaun said. Dad threw us a huge party, invited everyone he knew. There was a clown and a pony and more cake than we could ever eat. He turned the page. More photos. The boys growing up, school plays, basketball games, family vacations. This is our first day of kindergarten. This is when Jamal broke his arm trying to climb the tree in the backyard. This is when I won the science fair in 6th grade. Why are you showing me this? Because these are going to be your memories too. Deshaun looked at her. Dad's going to adopt you, which means from now on you're part of this family. You're going to have birthdays and parties and vacations and all the normal stuff that every kid deserves. Maya stared at the photos. All those smiling faces. All that happiness captured in images. I don't know if I remember how to be happy, she whispered. Then we'll help you remember. Deshaun closed the album. And someday, Maya, you're going to look back on this moment as the night your real life started. The elevator dinged. Maya jumped to her feet, her heart pounding. Deshaun was already moving toward the door, positioning himself between her and whatever was coming. The security panel beeped. Howard's voice came through the intercom. Mr. Thompson and Mr. Jamal are back. They have someone with them. The door opened. Marcus walked in first, his face tired but triumphant. Jamal followed close behind. And between them in handcuffs, her face twisted with fury, was Denise Walker. We found her. Marcus's voice was flat. She was hiding in an abandoned building 3 blocks from here, waiting for the security team to change shifts so she could try to get in. Maya couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but stare at the woman who had made her life a living hell. Denise's eyes found hers. Even in handcuffs, even surrounded by people who wanted her gone, there was no fear in her expression. Only hatred. You think you've won? Denise's voice was a hiss. You think this changes anything. You're still the same worthless little girl you've always been. No amount of money or fancy lawyers is going to change that. That's enough. Marcus stepped between them, blocking Maya's view. Detective Reyes is on her way. You're going back to jail, Denise, and this time no amount of bail is going to get you out. Denise laughed. It was a cold, empty sound. You think you know what you're dealing with? You think I'm the only one who wants those children gone. There are others, people who won't be stopped by locks and guards and good intentions. What others? Marcus's voice sharpened. Who are you talking about? Denise just smiled, that cold, terrible smile that Maya knew so well. You'll find out soon enough. The police arrived 20 minutes later. Angela Reyes personally escorted Denise out of the building this time, making sure there would be no bail, but Denise's words lingered in the air like poison. There are others. Maya stood at the window watching the police cars pull away, her arms wrapped around herself. Marcus came to stand beside her. Don't let her get in your head, he said gently. She's trying to scare you. It's the only power she has left. What if she's telling the truth? Maya's voice was barely audible. What if there are others? Then we'll deal with them too. Marcus put his arm around her shoulders. One enemy at a time. Maya leaned into him, letting herself feel just for a moment the safety of his embrace. Thank you, she whispered, for everything. You're my daughter now. Marcus's voice was thick with emotion. I will always protect you. Outside, the city lights glittered like scattered diamonds. Inside, Isaiah and Elijah slept peacefully, unaware of the drama that had unfolded around them. And Maya, for the first time in 2 years, allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, the nightmare was finally coming to an end. But even as she closed her eyes, Denise's words echoed in her mind. There are others. The battle wasn't over yet. 3 weeks passed since Denise Walker's arrest. 3 weeks of healing, of learning, of slowly beginning to believe that safety was more than just a temporary illusion. Maya woke each morning expecting the dream to shatter. It never did. The adoption paperwork had been filed. Patricia Coleman estimated the process would take 6 to 8 months, maybe longer, given the complexity of the case. But Marcus had already begun treating Maya, Isaiah, and Elijah as his own. The twins were thriving. Isaiah had gained 2 pounds. Elijah's lungs had cleared completely. They laughed now real baby laughs that filled the penthouse with joy. They reached for Maya when she entered the room, their small faces lighting up at the sight of their sister. And Maya herself was changing in ways she didn't fully understand. She had started eating regular meals, 3 times a day, sometimes more if Deshawn convinced her to join him for a midnight snack. The hollows in her cheeks were filling in. The dark circles under her eyes were fading. She had even started sleeping through the night. Not every night, but enough that the constant fog of exhaustion was finally lifting. It was Thursday morning when the first crack appeared in her new reality. Maya was in the kitchen feeding Isaiah his morning bottle when Marcus walked in with his phone pressed to his ear. His face was tight, his jaw clenched in a way she had learned meant trouble. When his voice was sharp. How is that possible? He listened for a long moment, then hung up without saying goodbye. Dad? Jamal looked up from his coffee. What's wrong? Marcus set his phone on the counter with deliberate care. When he spoke, his voice was carefully controlled. Terrence Walker is dead. Maya's hand froze on the bottle. Isaiah whimpered at the sudden stop, but she couldn't make herself move. Dead, Deshawn had stopped mid-bite, his fork hovering over his plate. How suicide? Marcus's eyes found Maya's face. They found him in his cell this morning. He hanged himself with his bed sheets. Maya felt the room tilt. She gripped the edge of the counter with her free hand. That doesn't make sense. Her voice came out strange, distant. Uncle Terrence was a coward. He would never kill himself. The police are investigating. Marcus moved toward her, his hand reaching out to steady her shoulder. They're treating it as suspicious. Suspicious how there were signs of a struggle. Bruises that couldn't have been self-inflicted, and the security cameras in that wing of the jail malfunctioned for exactly 17 minutes last night. Someone killed him. Maya's voice was flat. Someone got into that jail and murdered him, it looks that way. Who I don't know yet, but Angela is on it. Maya set down the bottle. Her hands were shaking too hard to continue feeding Isaiah. Jamal stepped forward and took the baby from her arms without a word. She did this. Maya's voice rose. Denise did this. She killed him to keep him quiet. We don't know that for certain. I know. Maya's eyes were wild. I know her. Uncle Terrence was weak. He would have cracked. Eventually told the police everything about my mother's death. Aunt Denise couldn't let that happen, so she had him killed. Marcus didn't argue. He simply pulled her into his arms and held her while she trembled. Whatever happened, he said quietly, we will find the truth. I promise you that. The investigation into Terrence Walker's death consumed the next 4 days. Detective Angela Reyes worked around the clock pulling security footage from neighboring buildings, interviewing inmates and guards, tracing every visitor Terrence had received since his arrest. What she found made Maya's blood run cold. The night before Terrence died, he had a visitor. Angela spread photographs across Marcus's dining room table. A man named Raymond Cross. No criminal record, no obvious connection to the Walkers. But look at this. She pulled up an image on her laptop. Bank records. Raymond Cross received a wire transfer of $50,000 2 days before his visit to Terrence. The money came from an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. Can you trace who owns the account? Marcus asked. We're working on it, but these things take time. We don't have time. Maya's voice was tight. Denise is out there planning her next move. She killed Uncle Terrence because he knew too much. Who's next? No one is next. Angela's voice was firm. Denise Walker is under 24-hour surveillance. She can't make a move without us knowing. She found a way to have someone killed in a maximum security jail. Maya's laugh was bitter. You really think surveillance is going to stop her? Angela had no answer for that. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She lay in her bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft sounds of Isaiah and Elijah breathing in their cribs. Every creak of the building, every distant sound from the street below made her heart race. There are others. Denise's words kept echoing in her mind. She hadn't been bluffing. Terrence's death proved that. There was a network people willing to kill on Denise's orders. And Maya had no idea how deep it went. A soft knock at her door made her jump. Maya, it was Jamal's voice, quiet so as not to wake the babies. Can I come in? She sat up. Yeah. The door opened. Jamal slipped inside, closing it behind him. He was wearing sweatpants and a faded college t-shirt, his hair uncombed. I saw your light was still on. He settled into the chair by her desk. Couldn't sleep either. Too much in my head. Want to talk about it? Maya pulled her knees up to her chest. What's to talk about? Someone murdered my uncle in jail. My aunt probably ordered it. There are apparently other people out there who want me and my brothers dead. Just a normal Thursday. Jamal didn't laugh at the dark humor. His expression remained serious. I've been thinking about what Denise said. About there being others. Me too. What if she wasn't talking about hired killers? Jamal leaned forward. What if she meant something else, like what I've been doing some research? On your mother's death, on the insurance policy, on everything. There's something that doesn't add up. What do you mean? The insurance policy your mother had was worth $800,000, but the premiums on a policy that size would be huge, way more than a single mother with 3 kids could afford. Maya frowned. I never thought about that, so I dug deeper. Jamal pulled out his phone and showed her the screen. The policy wasn't taken out by your mother. It was taken out by someone else with your mother listed as the insured party, who a company called Walker Family Holdings, LLC, registered 6 months before your mother died. Maya's stomach dropped. Aunt Denise and Uncle Terrence had a company. It gets worse. The company has 3 listed partners, Terrence Walker, Denise Walker, and a third name, someone I'd never heard of before tonight, who Victor Barnes. Maya's breath caught. The lawyer, the same Victor Barnes who represented Denise at the custody hearing, who posted her bail, who has been handling all her legal matters since your mother's death. Maya's mind raced. They planned it, all of it, from the beginning. That's what it looks like. Jamal's voice was grim. They took out a life insurance policy on your mother, knowing they were going to kill her. Then they swooped in to take custody of you and your brothers so they could claim the money. But the money is tied to custody, Maya's voice shook. They only get it if they have us until Isaiah and Elijah turn 18, which is why they've been fighting so hard to get you back. Jamal reached out and gripped her hand. It was never about family, Maya. It was always about money. Maya felt sick. All those years, all that abuse, all that suffering, just so they could steal money that should have gone to her and her brothers. Does your dad know about this? I called him an hour ago. He's meeting with Angela right now. By morning, Victor Barnes is going to be in handcuffs. Maya should have felt relieved. Another enemy exposed, another threat neutralized. But all she felt was hollow. It doesn't matter, she said quietly. What do you mean every time we cut off one head, 2 more grow back? First it was Aunt Denise and Uncle Terrence. Then it was whoever killed Uncle Terrence. Now it's Victor Barnes. There's always someone else. There's always another layer. Maybe. Jamal's grip on her hand tightened. But we keep fighting. We keep peeling back layers until there's nothing left to find. And if there's always more, then we fight forever. Jamal's voice was fierce. I told you before, I don't make promises I can't keep. We're going to get through this, Maya. All of us. Together. Maya looked at him. At this young man who had started out as a stranger and was slowly becoming her brother. Thank you, she whispered, for believing in me. It's easy to believe in someone who's already proven how strong they are. Victor Barnes was arrested at 6 o'clock the next morning. Maya watched from the penthouse window as police cars surrounded his office building downtown. Angela had called to give them a heads up, and Marcus had woken everyone so they could witness the moment. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like just another battle in a war that would never end. He's asking for a deal. Angela's voice came through Marcus's phone on speaker. Says he'll give up everything, every name, every piece of evidence if we take the death penalty off the table. The death penalty? Deshawn sounded shocked. What else did he do, according to Barnes, Keisha? Johnson's death was just one of several insurance fraud schemes he helped orchestrate. There are at least 4 other suspicious deaths he's willing to testify about. 4 other families. Maya's voice was barely audible. 4 other people murdered for money. Angela was quiet for a moment. It looks that way. And Denise, Marcus asked, is she connected to all of them? Barnes says she was the mastermind. She found the targets, took out the policies, arranged the accidents. Terrence handled the dirty work. Barnes handled the legal side. It was a well-oiled machine. Maya felt her legs give out. She sat down hard on the nearest chair. My mother was just a target to them, her voice broke. Just a name on a list, a policy number, a way to make money. Marcus moved to her side immediately. Maya, they didn't hate her. They didn't have any reason to hurt her. She was just convenient, just available, just... She couldn't finish. The sobs came hard and fast, ripping through her body like earthquakes. Marcus held her. Jamal and Deshawn stood close, and their faces stricken with shared grief. On the phone, Angela's voice was soft. I'm sorry, Maya. I'm so sorry. The funeral for Keisha Johnson had been small and hurried, arranged by people who had never loved her. But now, 5 days after Victor Barnes's arrest, Marcus insisted on a memorial service. We're going to honor her properly, he said, the way she deserved. The service was held at a small church in Baldwin Hills near the house where Keisha had grown up. Marcus had tracked down her old friends, former co-workers, anyone who had known her before her death. Over 100 people came. Maya stood at the front of the church, holding Elijah while Jamal held Isaiah. She hadn't expected so many people, hadn't realized how many lives her mother had touched. One by one, they came forward to share memories. The woman who had worked with Keisha at the hospital where she was a nurse. The man whose life she had saved when she found him collapsed on the street and performed CPR until the ambulance arrived. The elderly couple she had helped with groceries every week without ever being asked. "Your mother was an angel," the elderly woman said, gripping Maya's hands. "Pure and simple, an angel walking among us." Maya listened to story after story. Laughter and tears mingled as people remembered the woman who had been taken too soon. Then it was her turn to speak. She walked to the podium, her legs unsteady, her heart pounding. "My mama," she began, then stopped. Her throat had closed up. The church was silent. 100 faces looked up at her waiting. Maya closed her eyes. She thought about her mother's smile, her laugh, the way she sang lullabies every night without fail, the way she always had time for one more story, one more hug, one more kiss. "My mama was the strongest person I ever knew," Maya said. Her voice steadied. "She raised me by herself. She worked double shifts so I could have birthday parties and Christmas presents. She never complained, never asked for help, never let me see how hard she was fighting just to keep us afloat." She paused, letting the words sink in. When she got pregnant with the twins, everyone told her it was too risky. She had complications. The doctors said she might not survive the delivery, but she refused to give up. She said every child deserves a chance at life, and she was going to give Isaiah and Elijah theirs, even if it cost her everything. Maya's voice cracked. "She survived the delivery. She held her babies in her arms and told me I was a big sister now. She made me promise to always look out for them, to always protect them. Then she kissed my forehead and said she loved me more than all the stars in the sky." Tears streamed down Maya's face. 3 months later, someone took her from us. Not an accident, not fate. Someone decided that my mother's life was worth less than money. Someone looked at her at everything she was and everything she could have been and saw nothing but a number on an insurance policy. Her voice hardened. But they were wrong. My mother was not a number. She was a person, a mother, a friend, a hero, and no amount of evil will ever erase what she meant to the people who loved her. Maya looked out at the congregation. So today we remember her, not for how she died, but for how she lived, with courage, with kindness, with a love so fierce that it carried me through 2 years of hell and brought me here to this moment surrounded by people who finally see the truth. She took a shaky breath. "Mama, if you can hear me, I kept my promise. Isaiah and Elijah are safe. We're all safe now, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure the world knows the kind of woman you were." She stepped back from the podium. The church erupted in applause. People were crying, hugging, calling out words of support. Marcus was at her side instantly. He wrapped his arms around her and held her while she sobbed. "I'm so proud of you," he whispered. "Your mother would be too." The reception after the memorial was held at the penthouse. People milled around, sharing food and memories, their grief slowly transforming into something lighter. Maya stood by the window watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. That was a beautiful speech. She turned. A woman she didn't recognize stood behind her, middle-aged with kind eyes and grainy and graying hair. "Thank you." Maya's voice was polite but guarded. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" "No." The woman smiled sadly. "But I knew your mother. A long time ago, before you were born. How we grew up together. Best friends from kindergarten through high school." The woman's eyes grew distant. Then life happened. We drifted apart. I moved away, got married, lost touch. When I heard about her death, I tried to reach out, but your aunt and uncle said you weren't available for visitors. Maya's jaw tightened. They kept a lot of people away. I can see that now. The woman reached into her purse and pulled out a worn envelope. "I wanted to give you this. I've been holding on to it for years, waiting for the right moment." Maya took the envelope. Inside was a photograph. 2 teenage girls arms around each other laughing at the camera. One of them was unmistakably a young Keisha Johnson. That was taken on her 16th birthday. The woman's voice trembled. "Best day of our lives." Maya stared at the photo. Her mother looked so young, so happy, so full of promise. There's something else in there. Maya reached deeper into the envelope, her fingers closed around a folded piece of paper. She opened it. It was a letter handwritten in her mother's familiar script. "To my baby girl," it began. "If you're reading this, it means something has happened to me. I hope it hasn't. I hope I'm standing next to you right now laughing about how paranoid I was. But if I'm not, there are things you need to know." Maya's hands began to shake. "I never told you about your father. I was scared, ashamed, and confused. But you deserve the truth. Your father's name is James Mitchell. He didn't abandon us. He never knew you existed. We were young and foolish, and I was too proud to tell him I was pregnant. By the time I worked up the courage, he had moved away, and I couldn't find him. Maya's breath caught. Mitchell? She looked up from the letter, her eyes wide. Across the room, Marcus was laughing at something Deshawn had said. The light caught his face, highlighting the shape of his jaw, the curve of his brow, features that Maya saw every time she looked in the mirror. I tried to find him later, the letter continued. I hired a private investigator. He told me James had changed his name after his mother remarried. His new name was Marcus Thompson. The letter slipped from Maya's fingers. The woman who had given her the envelope was speaking, but Maya couldn't hear the words. Her ears were roaring. Her heart was pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. Marcus Thompson, the man who had found her on a bus bench. The man who had saved her life. The man who was trying to adopt her, was her father. Maya stumbled backward. Her vision was blurring at the edges. Maya, the woman's voice was concerned. Are you all right? She wasn't all right. She was the furthest thing from all right. Because the man she had started to think of as a father, the man she had trusted more than anyone in her life, had been lying to her from the very beginning, and she had no idea why. Across the room, Marcus turned. Their eyes met, and in that moment Maya saw something flicker across his face. Recognition, fear, guilt. He knew. He had always known. And he had said nothing. Maya's world shattered into a million pieces, and somewhere deep inside her, the wall she had been rebuilding began to crumble all over again. Maya ran. She didn't think about where she was going. Didn't care. Her legs carried her through the crowded penthouse past startled guests toward the elevator. Behind her, she heard Marcus calling her name, but the sound barely registered through the roaring in her ears. The elevator doors opened. She threw herself inside and jabbed the button for the lobby. Maya, wait! Marcus reached the doors just as they began to close. His hand shot out, catching them before they could seal. Please! His voice was desperate. Let me explain. Explain what Maya's voice cracked. That you're my father, that you've known this whole time, that everything, every single moment since you found me on that bench has been a lie. It wasn't a lie. Then what was it? Maya pressed herself against the back of the elevator, putting as much distance between them as she could. You pretended to be a stranger. You let me cry to you about how my father abandoned me before I was born. You held me while I grieved for a man I thought I'd never meet. And the whole time you were right there. You were him. Marcus stepped into the elevator. The doors closed behind him. I didn't know. His voice was thick with emotion. Not at first. When I found you on that bench, I had no idea who you were. I just saw a child in need. A child who reminded me of myself. When did you find out Marcus was silent? When Maya's voice rose to a scream. The first night. Marcus's face crumpled. When you told me your mother's name? Keisha Johnson. I knew then. Maya felt like she'd been stabbed. The first night. She could barely breathe. You've known for almost a month. You've been lying to me for almost a month. I wasn't lying. I was trying to find the right time. The right time, Maya laughed, but there was no humor in it. When would have been the right time, Marcus? When you filed the adoption papers, when you told me you wanted to be my father. Did it ever occur to you that you already were my father? I didn't know how to tell you. Marcus's voice broke. I didn't know if you would believe me. If you would want me. I had already abandoned you once, even if I didn't know it. I was terrified of losing you again. You didn't abandon me. Mama never told you. No, she didn't. Then why didn't you tell me the truth the moment you found out Marcus reached for her? Maya flinched away. Because I was a coward. The words came out raw, broken. Because I looked at you, this incredible, strong, brave girl who had survived things I couldn't imagine, and I was terrified that if I told you the truth, you would hate me. You would blame me for not being there, for not protecting you, for letting all those terrible things happen to you. Maya's eyes were burning. Do you know what happened to me in that house? I know some of it. Some of it. Maya pulled up her sleeve, revealing the scars she usually kept hidden. Do you know about this? The time Aunt Denise pressed my arm against the stove because I burned dinner, Maya. Do you know about this? She pulled down her collar, showing the cigarette burn marks on her shoulder. Uncle Terrence's favorite punishment when he'd had too much to drink. Stop. Do you know about the nights I spent locked in a closet, the meals I missed because I gave my food to Isaiah and Elijah, the times I thought about giving up, just letting go because I couldn't take it anymore? Marcus was crying now, tears streaming down his face. I didn't know. His voice was a whisper. I swear to God, Maya, I didn't know. Because you weren't there. Maya's voice echoed off the elevator walls. You weren't there when Mama died. You weren't there when they took us. You weren't there when I needed someone, anyone to save me. And now you want to swoop in and play hero. Now you want to be my father. I want to make it right. Marcus took another step toward her. I know I can never give you back those years. I know I can never undo the pain you suffered, but I can be here now. I can spend the rest of my life trying to be the father you deserved. The elevator reached the lobby. The doors opened. Maya looked at the man in front of her, the man who was her father, the man who had saved her life, the man who had lied to her. I don't know if I can trust you anymore. She stepped out of the elevator and walked away. Maya didn't know where she was going. She just walked. Through the lobby, out the front doors, down the street. The night air was cool against her tear-stained face. The city lights blurred through her tears. She walked for an hour, maybe more. Eventually, she found herself standing in front of a small park. The same park where she had collapsed on a bench that day, holding her brothers praying for a miracle. She sat down on that same bench. The memories crashed over her in waves. The fear, the exhaustion, the absolute certainty that she was going to watch her brothers die. And then Marcus had appeared, like something out of a dream. She had thought it was fate, divine intervention, a sign that somewhere in the universe someone was watching out for her. But it hadn't been fate at all. It had been blood calling to blood, a father finding his daughter without even knowing he was looking. Did that make it better or worse? Maya didn't know. Footsteps approached. She tensed, expecting Marcus, but the voice that spoke wasn't his. So this is where you ended up. Maya looked up. Jamal stood there, his hands in his pockets, his expression unreadable. How did you find me? Find my phone app? He sat down beside her. Dad's been going crazy looking for you. He told you. He told all of us. Jamal's voice was quiet. About being your biological father. About knowing and not saying anything. And Deshaun punched a wall. Broke 2 knuckles. He's at the hospital now, getting them wrapped. Despite everything, Maya felt a flicker of something. Concern, affection. Why did he punch a wall? Because he was angry. At Dad. At the situation. At himself for not figuring it out sooner. Jamal shook his head. He said he should have seen it. The way Dad looked at you. The way he dropped everything to help you. It wasn't just charity. It was something deeper. Maya stared at her hands. I don't know what to feel. That's okay. It's not okay. Nothing about this is okay. I spent 8 years thinking my father abandoned me, thinking I wasn't worth staying for. And now I find out he didn't even know I existed. That if my mother had just told him the truth, everything could have been different. Maybe. Jamal's voice was gentle. Or maybe not. There's no way to know what would have happened. I could have had a family. Maya's voice cracked. A real family. Instead, I got Aunt Denise and Uncle Terrence. I got beaten and starved and broken, and it was all because my mother was too proud to tell the truth. You're angry at her. It wasn't a question. Maya nodded. Is that wrong, being angry at someone who's dead? No. Jamal put his arm around her shoulders. It's human. They sat in silence for a long moment. The city hummed around them. Cars passed. People walked by, lost in their own lives. He really didn't know, Maya finally asked. Your dad, I mean. He really didn't know about me. He really didn't. Jamal's voice was certain. When he found out, when he put the pieces together, he fell apart. I've never seen him like that, not even when he talks about Mom's death. He kept saying I had a daughter. I had a daughter, and I let her suffer. Maya felt something shift in her chest. The anger was still there. The hurt, the betrayal. But underneath it all, something else was stirring. Understanding. He should have told me. Yeah. He should have. Why didn't he fear? Jamal shrugged. Same reason anyone keeps secrets. He was terrified of losing you. Maya thought about that. About all the ways fear had shaped her own life. The things she had done, the lies she had told, the walls she had built. All to protect herself from pain. Was she really so different? What do I do now? That's up to you? Jamal squeezed her shoulder. But I can tell you what I think. What I think you've spent your whole life fighting alone. And I think you finally found people who want to fight with you. My dad made a mistake. A big one. But he loves you, Maya. Not because you're his daughter by blood. He loved you before he knew that. He loved you because of who you are. Maya felt tears sliding down her cheeks again. I'm so tired of crying. Then stop. Jamal smiled gently. Or don't. Sometimes crying is exactly what you need. Your brother punched a wall for me. Yeah, well, Deshaun's always been dramatic. Maya almost laughed. And you? What did you do? I went to find my sister. Jamal's voice was soft. Because that's what brothers do. Maya looked at him. At this young man who had started as a stranger and become something so much more. Thank you. Come home, Maya. Please, home. The word felt foreign and familiar all at once. Okay. They walked back to the penthouse together. The night had grown cold and Maya shivered despite Jamal's jacket draped over her shoulders. When they reached the building, Howard was waiting at the security desk. His face flooded with relief when he saw her. Thank God. He reached for his radio. I'll let Mr. Thompson know. Maya took a deep breath. Let me do it. The elevator ride felt longer than usual. When the doors opened, the penthouse was quiet. The guests from the memorial had all gone home. Marcus sat alone on the couch, his head in his hands. He looked up when he heard her footsteps. Maya. He stood but didn't move toward her. His face was ravaged by tears, his eyes red and swollen. I'm sorry. The words tumbled out of him. I'm so sorry. I should have told you the moment I knew. I should have trusted you with the truth. I was selfish and afraid, and I hurt you, and I will never, never forgive myself for that. Maya stood in the middle of the room, her arms wrapped around herself. I need you to answer some questions. Anything. Did you love her? My mother. Marcus's breath caught. Yes, I was 17. She was 16. We were young and stupid and thought we had forever. When her family moved away, I was devastated. I tried to find her for years, but she was gone. Why did you stop looking? I didn't. Marcus's voice cracked. But I was poor. I had no resources, no connections. By the time I built my company, by the time I had the money to hire real investigators, it had been over a decade. The trail was cold. She had changed her name when she got married the first time. I thought she had moved on. I thought she didn't want to be found. She never married. Maya's voice was flat. She told me she didn't believe in it anymore. Not after my father left her. Marcus flinched. I never left her. I didn't even know she was pregnant. If I had known. Maya held up her hand. I believe you. Marcus's eyes widened. You do? My mother was proud. Too proud for her own good sometimes. She never asked for help even when she needed it. It makes sense that she wouldn't have told you about me, that she would have tried to do it all herself. Maya, but you should have told me the truth. Maya's voice hardened. The moment you knew, you should have trusted me. I know. I spent my whole life being lied to, by Aunt Denise, by Uncle Terrence, by the system that was supposed to protect me. When I came here, I thought I had finally found people who would be honest with me, and then I find out you've been keeping the biggest secret of all. You're right. Marcus's voice was broken. I have no excuse. I was a coward. I convinced myself I was protecting you, but I was really just protecting myself. From what? From you hating me, from you blaming me for not being there, from you walking away and never looking back. Maya was quiet for a long moment. I don't hate you. Marcus looked up. I want to. Part of me really wants to, but I can't, because despite everything you saved my life. You saved my brothers. You gave us something we've never had before. A home. A family. Hope. Marcus took a tentative step toward her. Does that mean you forgive me? Maya considered the question. Forgiveness felt too big, too final. The hurt was still raw, still fresh. It means I'm willing to try. She met his eyes. But no more secrets. No more lies. If we're going to be a family, it has to be built on truth. I promise. Marcus's voice shook. No more secrets. Ever. Maya nodded slowly. Then I guess we start over. Marcus crossed the remaining distance between them. He opened his arms but didn't reach for her, letting her make the choice. Maya hesitated for just a moment, then she stepped forward and let her father hold her for the first time. 6 months later, the courthouse felt different. Maya stood before Judge Lorraine Washington for the second time, but everything had changed. The fear was gone. The uncertainty was gone. In their place was something solid, something real. This is a happy day, Judge Washington said. Her stern face softened by a genuine smile. After everything this family has been through, it gives me great pleasure to make this official. Marcus stood beside Maya, his hand on her shoulder. Behind them, Jamal and Deshawn held Isaiah and Elijah, both babies, babbling happily, unaware of the significance of the moment. Marcus Thompson, do you take Maya, Isaiah, and Elijah Johnson to be your legally adopted children with all the rights and responsibilities that entails? I do. And Maya, do you consent to this adoption? Maya looked up at Marcus, at the man who was both her rescuer and her father, the man who had made terrible mistakes but was working every day to make them right. I do. Then, by the power vested in me by the state of California, I declare this adoption complete. Marcus, Maya, Isaiah, and Elijah are now officially and irrevocably a family. The courtroom erupted in applause. Patricia Coleman was crying. Dr. Patterson was beaming. Even Detective Angela Reyes, who had come to witness the ceremony, was wiping her eyes. Deshawn let out a whoop and hoisted Isaiah high in the air. The baby shrieked with laughter. "Welcome to the family, sis," Jamal said, pulling Maya into a one-armed hug while balancing Elijah on his hip. Maya leaned into the embrace, feeling tears of joy streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." The celebration at the penthouse that night was unlike anything Maya had ever experienced. There was music and laughter, and more food than anyone could possibly eat. Friends came and went, offering congratulations, sharing in the joy of a family finally made whole. Maya slipped away at one point, needing a moment of quiet. She found herself standing by the window, looking out at the city that had become her home. "Penny, for your thoughts?" she turned. Marcus stood behind her, 2 glasses of sparkling cider in his hands. "Just thinking about how different everything is now." Maya accepted the glass he offered. "A year ago, I was fighting for survival. Now I have everything I ever dreamed of." "You deserve it." Marcus clinked his glass against hers. "You've earned every bit of happiness that comes your way." Maya smiled. "Can I ask you something?" "Always." "What made you stop that day on the bus bench, I mean? Before you knew who I was. What made you pull over?" Marcus was quiet for a moment, considering the question. "I don't know exactly. I was coming back from visiting your mother's grave at the cemetery. I was thinking about her, about all the what-ifs. And then I saw you. This tiny girl with those 2 babies, looking like she was ready to take on the entire world. And something in me just clicked." "Fate?" Maya asked. "Maybe? Or maybe it was your mother watching over you from wherever she is, guiding me to the one place I needed to be at exactly the right moment." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "You really believe that I believe that love doesn't end when someone dies? I believe your mother loved you so fiercely that even death couldn't stop her from protecting you. And I believe that she brought us together for a reason." Maya set down her glass and wrapped her arms around her father. "I love you, Dad." The word came out naturally without hesitation. For the first time in her life, it felt right. Marcus's arms tightened around her. "I love you too, sweetheart. More than you'll ever know." They stood there for a long moment, father and daughter finally united after years of separation and pain. Outside, the city sparkled with light. Inside, the sounds of celebration continued. Isaiah and Elijah's laughter mingled with Jamal and Deshawn's voices. Maya closed her eyes and breathed it all in. This was home. This was family. This was where she belonged. 1 year later, Maya stood on a stage in front of her entire school. The auditorium was packed. Parents, teachers, students all there to hear the 8th grade graduation speeches. Maya had been chosen to give the keynote address an honor that still made her nervous despite everything she had overcome. She looked out at the crowd. In the front row sat Marcus, beaming with pride. Beside him, Jamal and Deshawn held Isaiah and Elijah, now 18 months old and squirming with toddler energy. Her family. Maya took a deep breath and began. "A year and a half ago, I was homeless. Starving. Watching my baby brothers die slowly because no one would help us. I had given up hope. I had accepted that the world was cruel and that children like me, children nobody wanted, would always fall through the cracks." The auditorium was silent. Then a stranger stopped. A man driving a fancy car saw 3 kids on a bus bench and decided to do something. He didn't know us, had no reason to care, but he stopped anyway. He gave us water, food, medicine, hope. Maya's voice grew stronger. That man turned out to be my biological father, a fact neither of us knew at the time. Some people call it coincidence. I call it a miracle. But whatever you call it, it taught me something important. She looked directly at her family. Kindness matters. Small acts of compassion can change the entire trajectory of someone's life. That man stopping his car saved my brothers. It saved me. It gave us a family we never thought we'd have. Maya smiled through her tears. So here's what I want to say to all of you. Be the person who stops. When you see someone suffering, don't walk by. Don't assume someone else will help. Be the one who makes a difference because you never know whose life you might save. She took a deep breath. My name is Maya Thompson. I am a daughter, a sister, a survivor, and I am living proof that even in the darkest moments, light can find a way in. Thank you. The auditorium exploded in applause. People were standing, cheering, crying. Maya walked off the stage and into her father's arms. I'm so proud of you, Marcus whispered. Your mother would be too. Maya looked at her family. At Deshawn making faces at Isaiah. At Jamal trying to keep Elijah from climbing over the seats. At Marcus, her father holding her like he would never let go. She thought about the journey that had brought her here. The pain, the fear, the betrayal, the healing, and she knew with absolute certainty that every moment had been worth it, because she was exactly where she was meant to be, home. That night, the family gathered around the dinner table for a celebration. Candles flickered. Food steamed in serving dishes. The twins sat in their high chairs, enthusiastically smearing mashed potatoes on every available surface. A toast, Marcus said, raising his glass. To Maya, for her incredible speech today, and for being the bravest person I've ever known. To Maya, Jamal, and Deshawn echoed. Maya blushed but raised her glass in return. To us, to family, to second chances. They clinked glasses and drank. So what's next? Deshawn asked between bites. High school valedictorian Harvard taking over Dad's company. Maya laughed. I was thinking maybe I'd start smaller. Like making it through 9th grade without having a nervous breakdown. Aim high, Jamal teased. I'm serious, though. Maya's voice softened. I just want to be normal for a while, go to school, have friends, be a kid. I never really got to do that before. Marcus reached over and squeezed her hand. You can be whatever you want to be, Maya. Normal, extraordinary, or anything in between. We'll support you no matter what. Maya looked around the table at the faces of the people she loved. Her brothers by adoption. Her brothers by blood. Her father who had found her against all odds and refused to let go. Actually, she said slowly, there is one thing I want to do. What's that? I want to start a foundation for kids like me. Kids in bad situations who need someone to notice them. Someone to stop. Marcus's eyes glistened. I think that's a wonderful idea. We could call it the Keisha Johnson Foundation, Maya continued. After my mother, to honor her memory and help other kids get the second chances she never got. The table fell silent. Then Deshawn raised his glass again. To the Keisha Johnson Foundation, and to Maya, the most incredible sister a guy could ask for. Maya felt tears sliding down her cheeks, but for once they were tears of pure joy. Thank you, she whispered. All of you, for everything. Marcus stood and walked around the table to embrace her. No, Maya, thank you, for giving me a chance to be your father, for letting us be your family, for teaching us all what courage really looks like. Maya held on to him tightly. Outside, the city lights sparkled like a million tiny promises. Inside, the warmth of love and belonging filled every corner of the room. Isaiah banged his spoon on his high chair tray, sending peas flying. Elijah giggled and copied him. Deshawn groaned as a pea landed in his drink. Jamal burst out laughing. And Maya, surrounded by chaos and noise and love, finally understood what home meant. It wasn't a place. It wasn't even a building. It was these people. This moment. This unshakable certainty that no matter what came next, she would never face it alone. She looked at her father, her brothers, her family, and she smiled. Because Maya Thompson had finally found where she belonged. And nothing in this world would ever take that away from her again. The next morning, Maya woke to sunlight streaming through her window and the sound of her brothers laughing downstairs. She lay there for a moment, letting the sounds of happiness wash over her. Then she got up, got dressed, and went to join her family. Because that's what family did. They showed up, they stayed, and they loved each other through everything. Always.